Darian Holt woke up to pain and strange light. His arms were tied above him, wrists rubbed raw by thick ropes hanging from a stone archway carved with symbols he didn't understand. His body ached from battle, bruises, burns, and blood-lined. His chest, but his eyes were still sharp. The twin suns of this alien world cast golden light across a village made of glass-like towers. Everything sparkled, yet all he could feel was the sting in his muscles and the heat of humiliation. He had been a soldier, a fighter against the Dominion. His last memory was the explosion of a plasma blast that threw him into the air. Then darkness. The next thing he knew, he was here, wounded, half-naked, and displayed like an offering. Darian had hoped, just for a moment, that the alien scavengers who found him might help. These violet-skinned beings were known for salvaging tech and sometimes even saving the wounded. But hope vanished when he saw the altar and the waiting crowd. He muttered to himself, "Quite the end, soldier boy." Still, he didn't panic. His heart beat steady as he studied the strange people below. Then a figure stepped forward, a woman who didn't look like the others. She moved with a kind of calm power, her long violet hair flowing behind her, her skin glowing in the light. Her outfit, part armor and part dress, shimmered with gold and black, revealing more than it covered. She was beautiful, otherworldly, and her presence made the crowd fall silent. Darian couldn't take his eyes off her. Their gazes met, and something strange passed between them. Not fear, not hate. Something else. She walked closer, her expression unreadable, and the elders bowed to her. One of them declared loudly that the offering appeared strong and worthy. Darian realized they were talking about him like a gift, a sacrifice. The woman, still quiet, stepped even closer. Her fingers moved in the air near his chest, not touching, almost like she was reading something only she could see. Then she spoke, in a soft voice, "He is different." She turned to the elders and said she would handle the preparation herself. They nodded, showing her deep respect, and left the space. Once they were gone, she leaned in near Darian's ear and whispered, "Don't drop your guard when they untie you. The food they bring isn't for your health." Her breath was warm against his skin, but her warning made his blood run cold. He turned his head slightly. "They're going to kill me, aren't they?" She didn't answer right away. Then her hand brushed his chest gently, her touch strange and electric. "Worse," she said. "They want to sacrifice you. But I have another plan." Darian smiled despite the pain. "I'm listening, beautiful." The woman raised an eyebrow but didn't move away. "My name is Soraya. If you want to live, trust me completely." Darian shifted against the ropes and winced. "Trust is hard when I'm strung up like this." She reached up and loosened the binding slightly, just enough to relieve the worst of the pain. "When they bring food, pretend to eat. Stay quiet. Stay weak. At moonrise the ceremony begins. I will change its ending." Her voice was calm, but Darian sensed the danger behind her words. Hours passed like slow fire. The food came. He played the role, dazed and broken, the drugs still in. His system made the act easier. Then as the moon rose, they untied him and led him to the altar. Drums began to beat. Light from the crystal spire above washed over everything. Soraya stood in the center, her body now decorated with glowing symbols and silver chains. She began to dance, and the crowd watched her every move. Darian, weak but alert, waited. Then she stopped and shouted, "The goddess speaks! She chooses him, but not for death!" The elders froze. Soraya's voice rang out like thunder. His blood has been spilled already. The goddess commands that he serve her, through me. Whispers filled the air, but none dared to speak against her. And so, instead of dying, Darien was taken to her private chambers, alive, confused, and bound now by something far more powerful than rope. Darien sat on a soft, glowing cushion inside Soraya's private chamber, still unsure if he was a prisoner, a guest, or something else entirely. The walls shimmered with natural crystal formations that bent the morning light into beautiful rainbow colors. Everything around him felt magical, but his body still ached from his wounds, though the pain had lessened thanks to the salve Soraya had applied earlier. She moved gracefully through the room, now wearing a violet dress that hugged her body in ways that made it hard for him to focus. Her silver jewelry sparkled with every step. Darien watched her in silence, unsure of what to say. She noticed him looking at a wall covered in strange symbols. "Those are glyphs," she explained softly. "Each one is a prayer or a meaning. That one," she said, pointing with her slender finger, "means destiny unwritten. I thought it matched you." Darien couldn't help but grin. "Unwritten, huh? I like that. So, what now? You saved me. Does that mean I belong to you?" Her lips curved into a faint smile as she stepped closer. "In our culture, when a priestess marks someone, it's not a small thing. It means she's chosen him, not just for protection, but for something deeper." Her words made his heart beat faster. She lifted a small bowl filled with glowing body paint and looked into his eyes. "If I mark you again, this time it will mean more. You'll be one of us, but you'll also be mine." Darien didn't move. He held her gaze and said, "Then, do it." She dipped her fingers into the shimmering paint and stepped behind him. Her hands were cool, but her touch was gentle and warm. Slowly, she began drawing lines and symbols across his chest and shoulders. Each stroke made his skin tingle. He couldn't tell if it was the paint or the way she moved. Her fingers followed the shape of his muscles with surprising care. "These marks," she whispered near his ear, "mean the goddess has touched you. But they also say I protect you now." Darien let out a slow breath, his chest rising and falling with her every touch. "That sounds promising." She laughed softly, then leaned closer. "There's more. Chosen ones must learn the sacred dances." Darien raised an eyebrow. "Dances? I should warn you. I've got 2 left feet." "Not these dances," she replied, turning to face him fully. "They're about connection, feeling, not steps." She took his hands gently and placed them on her waist. Her body was warm, and the soft fabric of her dress made his fingers twitch. She began to move slowly, guiding him into a rhythm he didn't expect to understand, but somehow did. Their bodies moved together, perfectly in tune. "This is called a prayer dance," she said quietly, her voice nearly drowned by his heartbeat. "It's meant to connect 2 souls." Darien looked into her eyes, drawn in by something deeper than attraction. "Is that what we're doing?" he asked, his voice rough. "Among other things," she replied with a look that held both mischief and meaning. The dance continued, and with every movement, the symbol she had painted on him began to glow brighter, especially wherever her hands touched. He looked down in wonder. "That's new." "The paint reacts to energy," she explained. "To emotions." He laughed lightly. "So it glows more when you touch me because I'm excited, Or because your soul is opening, she said, tracing a glowing mark over his heart. They stopped near a wide crystal window. The twin suns were setting, casting golden light on her lavender skin. She turned to him and said, "There's something else. The marks I gave you, they're a claim. When a priestess marks someone this way, it means she sees him as her future mate." Darian's breath caught in his throat. "Is that what you want?" Her eyes didn't waver. "What I want is to discover everything about you, starting now." The morning sun filtered through the crystal walls of the temple as Darian stood beside Soraya during the daily prayers. He had begun to feel a strange kind of peace in this place, though the glowing marks across his chest still pulsed with unfamiliar energy. What unsettled him more was how those marks refused to fade. Instead, they glowed brighter with each passing day, especially when Soraya was near. That morning, Elder Kiros noticed, his narrow eyes fixed on the symbols etched into Darian's skin. "This is unnatural," he muttered. "The markings should have vanished after the ceremony." The other elders gathered around, whispering to one another, until Kiros raised his hand to speak. "If he is truly blessed by the goddess, then let him prove it before all. Tonight, we call for the ritual of unity." Soraya's calm face shifted, for the first time. "That rite is sacred," she said. "It is not meant to be forced." "Exactly," Kairos answered with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It cannot be faked." Darian looked to Soraya, seeing a flicker of worry behind her steady gaze. But when night came, they stood together at the center of the ancient crystal temple, facing the full tribe. The room glowed softly from the giant crystal pillars that surrounded them in a perfect circle. Soraya's ceremonial robe shimmered with silver thread and energy marks that mirrored his own. They looked like they had been made to match. As the elder began the chant, the crowd grew silent. Soraya stepped forward and reached for Darian's hands. Her fingers trembled slightly, but her voice was firm as she whispered, "Let your energy follow mine. Don't think, just feel." The dance began. Slow at first, a rhythm of breath and steps, of eyes locked and hearts racing. Darian moved. With her, each gesture guided by instinct. He didn't understand the steps, but he understood her. And that was enough. As their bodies swayed in perfect time, the markings on their skin lit up like stars, glowing brighter with every touch. Then, something happened that no one expected. The massive crystals around them began to hum, vibrating softly with their movements. The lights pulsed in harmony with the rhythm of their hearts. The air was thick with power. Elder Kiros stood frozen, his mouth slightly open. "Impossible," he whispered. Darian felt something rise inside him. Not pain or fear, but a deep connection that grew stronger with each second. He saw it reflected in Soraya's eyes too. This wasn't just performance. It was real. As the dance reached its peak, their bodies stopped in the center of the glowing platform. Soraya touched her forehead to his, and the room burst into color. Rainbow, light dancing on every surface. The energy between them was too strong to deny. When the light faded, the crowd was silent. No one moved. Then, slowly, the elders began to bow their heads in recognition. Even Kiros stepped back, his voice quiet with disbelief. He truly is chosen. After the ceremony, Darian sat beside Soraya in the quiet of her chambers. The glow on his skin remained pulsing softly like a heartbeat. "What does this mean?" he asked. She placed her hand over his. "It means the goddess has spoken, and so have I." In that moment, he felt something stronger than gratitude. He felt fate beginning to unfold. Darian sat quietly beside Soraya in her glowing chamber, the soft hum of the crystal walls filling the space with calm. The markings on his skin had begun to spread, reaching across his shoulders, down his arms, and glowing faintly even when he wasn't performing rituals. Every time Soraya touched him, the light brightened. At first, he thought it was just a sign of the sacred energy between them. But then he started feeling her emotions, waves of warmth, fear, and joy, passing through him like whispers. When he asked her about it, Soraya looked thoughtful, then pressed her hand to his chest, where the brightest symbols shimmered. "Our bond is growing," she said. "Deeper than anyone expected. I can feel your thoughts sometimes. Not full words, just feelings, and you feel mine too." Darian didn't know what to say. He was a soldier, trained to fight, not to share souls. But he couldn't deny it. When she was near, he felt complete. That night, she told him the truth. As they lay beneath the glowing ceiling, she took his hand and placed it gently on her stomach. "There's life," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Our child." Darian's breath caught. "How? Is that even—" "It's not supposed to be," she said, smiling through her tears. "But the goddess made it possible." He couldn't move for a moment, just stared at her in wonder, then held her close. Her skin glowed against his, their lights merging into one. The days that followed were full of new discoveries. The baby, though unborn, had a presence, a soft, pulsing awareness that passed between their minds. It shared visions, feelings, and sometimes even thoughts. One morning, Darian woke from a dream that hadn't felt like a dream at all. He saw their child, older, standing in a great hall of crystal, power flowing from her like light. When he told Soraya, she nodded. "I saw it too. She's guiding us already." But not everyone felt the same wonder. Elder Kairos grew more suspicious. He brought old scrolls and questions to the council, demanding answers. That was when Elder Amara, the wisest of them all, stepped forward with something long forgotten. A scroll, smooth like glass, glowed in her hands as she read it aloud. It spoke of a prophecy, a time when a union between two worlds would bring forth a child of light, a child who could connect spirit and matter, heaven and earth. Soraya stood proudly beside Darian, her hand resting over her stomach. The markings on her belly had already begun to shift, forming new patterns that pulsed with their baby's energy. "The child is ours," she said firmly. "A gift of the goddess." Elder Amara nodded. "Yes, but others may not see it that way. The prophecy also warns of fear, of those who would try to stop this child or control her." Darian stepped forward, his markings glowing in warning. Let them try. That night, alone in their chamber, Soraya paced the floor, while Darian watched her, his heart heavy with a mix of joy and worry. "She will never have a normal life," Soraya said softly, placing her hand on her belly. "She's already too powerful." Darian came to her, held her close, and whispered, "Neither did we. But that doesn't mean we won't give her a beautiful one." The crystals above them pulsed in gentle rhythm, echoing the truth in his words. Their child, their bond and their future had already begun to change everything. Inside the heart of the temple, surrounded by tall, glowing crystals, Darian stood shirtless, while Elder Amara circled him slowly. His skin was covered in sacred marks that now reached down his arms like rivers of light. Every day they grew more detailed, more alive, glowing brighter whenever Soraya was near. She sat nearby, her belly round with their child, watching with a quiet pride. The energy in the chamber was thick, vibrating in the air. Their baby, though unborn, was already part of every lesson. Elder Amara had noticed how their child's presence added a strange force to Darian's training, like a third heartbeat, inside the sacred energy. "Again," she said calmly, raising her hand. "Let the energy flow through you. Not just through the marks, but through the bond you share with Soraya and the child." Darian took a slow breath and let his focus sink deep into his chest. He reached for that bond, for the soft glowing presence he felt whenever he touched Soraya. Their child's energy brushed back, eager, playful. A spark ran through him, and light began to swirl from his fingertips. The air shimmered. "Good," Amara nodded. "Now link it with Soraya's energy." He turned toward her. She was already waiting, her body still, her palms glowing faintly. Their eyes met. With a thought, their energies merged, the lights between them dancing like a storm of stars. The baby's presence joined in, adding a layer of joy and curiosity that made the entire chamber hum with power. But just as Darian began to relax, the child's energy surged. What had been a peaceful flow turned wild, like waves crashing over them. The light around them exploded outward, shaking the chamber walls and causing smaller crystals to crack. Elder Amara dove behind a pillar. "Control it!" she shouted. But it was no use. The baby's energy was too strong, too fast. Darian wrapped his arms around Soraya as she staggered, her hands trembling. "It's too much," she gasped. "I can't hold it." "Then shift it," he said quickly, remembering the night of the ritual of unity. "Turn the power into feeling, like we did before." Her eyes met his, full of fear and trust. They both closed their eyes and focused not on the force, but on their bond, on love, on safety, on the child. Slowly, the energy changed. What had been violent became warm. The storm faded into soft waves of emotion. The lights dimmed, glowing gently instead of pulsing wildly. The crystals stopped shaking and began to hum in a soothing tone. The chamber quieted. Elder Amara stood up slowly, brushing crystal dust from her robes. "Well," she said, her voice calm again. "That was certainly educational." Later, in their private room, Soraya lay back in a bath filled with healing crystals. The water shimmered, glowing gently from the energy still lingering in her body. Darian sat behind her, his arms around her, his cheek resting against her shoulder. "Our little one really knows how to make an entrance," he said with a tired laugh. Soraya chuckled softly, then sighed. "It's growing stronger every day. Too fast." "Good thing we found a way to guide it," he said, brushing her skin where the markings were now glowing like fireflies. "Even if our method is a little personal." "Kane," she warned, though her voice was smiling. The baby's presence shifted in their minds, pulling back as if giving them space. Darian grinned. Even the baby knows when to be polite. They laughed together as the soft light around them danced along the crystal walls. Their bond, their power, and their strange new life were unlike anything they had known. But they were learning, one challenge at a time. In the glowing heart of the temple, where the tallest spire touched the sky, Soraya cried out as labor began. The crystal walls around her lit up with bursts of color, responding to the powerful energy flowing from her body. Darian knelt beside her, gripping her hand tightly, his other hand resting gently on her belly, where the sacred markings had spread like stars. Their daughter was coming with the first light of dawn. Elder Amara stood ready with calm hands, her eyes glowing with wisdom. "Let the energy guide you," she instructed, as the entire temple seemed to hum with the rhythm of Soraya's breathing. But this birth was unlike any before. Their child wasn't just part of them. She was connected to everything. Through their bond, Darian felt not only his own heartbeat but also Soraya's and their daughters, all three pulsing as one. The baby, even before her first breath, was helping to guide her own arrival, sending waves of calm and strength through both her parents. Darian leaned close to Soraya's ear. "Remember our training. Let it flow. We're with her. She's with us." Soraya nodded, sweat on her brow, her grip tightening with every wave of pain. But there was no fear in her, only light. As the sun broke the horizon, their daughter was born in a burst of radiant energy. Her first cry echoed through the chamber like a song, causing the entire temple to shine. Every crystal formation responded, humming in harmony. The light reached far into the city, waking every person with a feeling of peace. Soraya held the newborn close, tears running down her cheeks. The baby's skin glowed softly, a perfect mix of their tones. Sacred markings moved slowly across her tiny body like flowing starlight, shifting with her breath. Darian reached out to touch her cheek, and when her eyes opened, they were filled with light and ancient wisdom, as if she had already seen lifetimes. "She's perfect," Soraya whispered. Elder Amara leaned in, amazed. "These markings, they're alive. I've never seen anything like this." As the tribe gathered to witness the miracle, even the skeptical elders bowed their heads in silence. The prophecy had come true, a child of two worlds, a bridge between spirit and matter. They named her Ilara, and as she grew, it was clear she was more than anyone expected. She could move crystals without speaking, heal small wounds with a touch, and share images and feelings through the bond with her parents. But more than that, she changed those around her. Her laughter could calm arguments. Her presence brought unity. Darian and Soraya, now leaders and guides, shared everything they had learned, how love and trust could shape power. The sacred dances, once private, became lessons in connection. The temple, once ruled by strict tradition, opened its doors to emotion, to family, to new ways of understanding the goddess's will. One evening, as the stars lit the sky and Ilara played with dancing crystals in the air, Soraya leaned against Darian's side. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I'd let them sacrifice you that day?" He smiled, wrapping an arm around her. "Then the goddess would have lost her plan, and I never would have found my world." Ilara looked up, her star-filled eyes twinkling. She shared a vision through their bond, a future of shining cities, humans and Valari working side by side, creating a peaceful world of harmony and light. Darian chuckled. "That's our girl, already dreaming big." Soraya kissed his cheek, her heart full. "Some stories begin with sacrifice. Ours began when we chose love instead." And as the night deepened, and the crystals hummed with joy, their family lay together under the sacred roof of the temple, where their love had turned prophecy into a living truth.